Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Today we are from Group 2. We are going to deliver a presentation about short story. It is The Fox and the Wolf. But before we start our presentations, let me introduce our group member. Next slide, please. The first member is Yanki Rimawan. The second member is Rizky Budi. The third member is Ramatunisa. The fourth member is me, Putri Mazia. And the last member is Wahyu Reza. Without do any further, let's go straight ahead to the material. The first material will be delivered by Ramatunisa. For Ramatunisa, time is yours.
Okay, the first material is the setting of time in the morning, setting of place, a den, a vineyard, and a hall, setting of mood, deep hole as a trap, face vineyard, setting of context, verbs, first, people set traps for wild animals that often destroy their orchids, and the second, the fox traps the wolf to come to the orchid with the persuasion that there are lots of fruit and the owner has died. Next slide. The characteristic, the fox, wise, patient in dealing with all the difficulties that have been experienced, intelligent, and careful. The wolf, stubborn, greedy, reckless, and selfish. The vineyard owner, smart in making traps. And the next material will be delivered by Rizky Budi.
Okay, next material, point of view. The story of the fox and the wolf is told in omniscient third-person perspective, where the narrator to know the thought and feeling of the character in the story. Next slide. The theme of the story is arrogance, greed, lies, wolf with bad intention, doing something bad, so that they receive retribution for their action. Okay, the next material will be delivered by Putri Mahdia.
Okay, the next material is about the conflict. The conflict is the wolf falling into a trap hole that covered by bushes, and the local residents also throw a stone to the wolf. Next slide, please. And the next one is the 5 stage of plot. The first one is expositions. It is contains introductions where you introduce your characters, establish the settings, the begin of the introduce the primary conflict of your story. Often, the expositions of story only last for a few chapters because readers are eager to dive into a conflict or the story. Don't wait too long to introduce your instinct, incident, and get the ball rolling. Many authors make the mistakes of having other expositions be full of interesting but ultimately unnecessary information about the world in their book. Don't do this. As much as you, I want you to make sure your reader know how the background of the information. It is enjoyable to read pages and pages of nonfictions. You should immediately place the reader within the actions of your story and try to weave background information is in as originally as you can. And the next one is the rising actions. The rising actions normally begin in the instinct incident or a moment that sets your story introductions. As it progresses, you will have multiple moments of conflict that escalate and create tensions as the story moves toward the climax. Think of it as a portions of a roller coaster where you're climbing to the peak. You want to continue to build your story until the reader is ready to reach the point where everything comes crashing down. The sections will take up the largest chunk of your book and can make or break your story. So be sure to make every moment of conflict more interesting than the last. Don't be afraid to raise the questions that won't get answered until the end of the book. Next slide, please. And the third one is the climax. The climax is the peak of tensions, plot, and character in your story. It's the moment where your reader has been waiting for, so make it exciting. Often, this is the point of the story that everything changes, or where your main character is forced to make a little life altering decisions. It should be the point where your reader is unsure where your story is going to go next. To use our roller coaster analogy, imagine you're on the top of peak and everything stops. What's going to happen? A reader climax will leave the readers with this feeling, forcing them to keep reading until the end. And the fourth is falling actions. Now you have reached the peak of your story. It is time to start moving toward a more satisfying conclusions. This is a time that to start resolving conflicts and subplots so your story doesn't feel rushed in the last few chapters. This is also where any conflicts that rose as a result of the climax can start being resolved. And the fifth one is resolutions or denouement. Finally, the resolution is the end of your story where you can tie up the final loose ends and bring your story to its happy or tragic ending. Or if you're reading a series, now you would be the time to write the cliffhanger and leave them eager for the next installment. The next material will be delivered by Wayu Reza. For Wayu Reza, time is yours.
The next is Climax. The climax is the wolf was trapped by fox by saying there's a lot of food waiting for him and the farmers of the vineyard was dead. But turned out there is a lot of trap in the vineyard and the farmer was not dead. Next slide. The next is falling action. The wolf was screaming to the fox for help, but this make the farmer hear the screaming of the wolf and come to the trap that he built. Then the wolf's dead, but the fox escaped from that. And the next material will be delivered by Yang Kirimawan.
Okay, the next material is revolution. The fox finally felt the pleasure and comfort of the many disputes between the fox and the wolf, which led to the uprising of the fox. Finally, the fox can escape the trapping of wolf slavery. After that, the fox lived in the vineyard alone and in safety.
That's all from our presentations today. Thank you for watching our video. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.